It's been nearly 3 months since GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, took its most recent checkered flag at Road Atlanta, but the wait finally comes to an end today. Before we can throw the green flag on the 5th race of the season, though, we have to set the grid. And it's time to do that now with a pair of 15-minute qualifying sessions at beautiful, bucolic Road America. Hello, my name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish is alongside. Amanda Music is in the pits for us once again on a picture-perfect morning here in the Kettle Moraine region of Wisconsin. The biggest grid we have seen all season, bolstered by returning part-time entries, plus a few newcomers joining the championship contenders. It figures to be an exciting day of action, starting with qualifying here this morning. Really sets the tone for what's to come this afternoon, Cal.
It does, and perfect track condition. Had a bit of rain come through here yesterday and washed some of the rubber off, but quite warm this morning compared to how we finished up the day yesterday. Should be great for this qualifying run. Low fuel, lots of tires to play with. This is go time.
Here are those conditions. 75-degree track temperature, 71 degrees in the air. There is some humidity, but it looks like the rain has moved through the area. Already had some cars on track here this morning for some of the support series, so we know the conditions are relatively good, and it's a great crowd on hand here as well. I'm hearing numbers up 15-20% this weekend compared to a year ago. Great to see so many of the fans joining us here trackside. Well, I mentioned 3 members of the broadcast team. You've heard from Calvin, you've heard from me. Let's introduce Amanda Music. Good morning, Amanda.
Good morning, Ryan, and yet is a stunning morning here, Sunday morning for race day at Road America. And you're right, it is the largest field that we've seen in nearly a decade, and I get to stand inside of it as we get set for qualifying. So many storylines headed into this weekend. You're looking at the points leader right there over all of Mackay Stevens, ready to take that JMF Mercedes to qualifying. But the big story for JMF this weekend was the sister car in Jason Daskalos and Philip Ellis. One thing started off this weekend that Philip Ellis will be with this program for the rest of the season alongside Jason Daskalos, but unfortunately, and I say this kindly, they expired a motor in practice earlier this weekend. The team went to work, got a motor here practically overnight, and then last night we're here until 2:30 in the morning getting this Mercedes ready to take the track today. They did have some hardship laps this morning with Philip Ellis behind the wheel. Jason Daskalos saying that the Mercedes is up for it for qualifying here today. You'll also see Jason in the top of our show later today. He is our walk and talk for our paddock walk this weekend, so you'll get to know a little bit more of Jason Daskalos off of that performance at Road Atlanta. Another storyline I'm following, went down to say hello to Miguel Molina, joining us here this weekend with AF Corsa alongside Matthias Perez-Companc as we saw his breakout performance at Road Atlanta. He was given a big hug by Amada Ferrari, who's with us here this weekend, but I'm seeing go time for these drivers down here, guys, and we'll have the stories.
Should be a lot of fun, not just for qualifying here this morning, but the race later on. Great to have Miguel Molina back, former champion in this paddock, back when it was Pirelli World Challenge, the Sprint X portion of the schedule, won that title alongside Tony Vilander all the way back in 2018. But remarkably, he's never raced here before at Road America.
Wild. Yeah, I think he's got 13 victories for his name in this Pirelli World Challenge, let's call it, kind of umbrella to his various stints in the championship. But yeah, now a Le Mans overall winner, comes here as a Ferrari factory driver, and you know he's going to be up to the task. We try and take Matthias Companc into really a kind of uncharted territory and maybe the lead of the championship by the end of the day. Had a great run with Freddie Shandorf winning at Road Atlanta, put them right in the mix and then talk about the championship lead.
Matthias only 8 points out right now coming into this 5th round. The reason that Miguel is here is because it's a very busy weekend of GT racing around the world. Right now, GT World Challenge Europe at the Nürburgring is approaching the halfway point. No spoilers from us, but that can be viewed in many of the same places you're watching this session here, and also GT World Challenge Asia in action. So busy weekend in the world of SRO, but a lot of focus, of course, right here on the American Championship as the cars rolled out for this 15-minute qualifying session. New format for 2026. Gone are the 2 90-minute races. It's now just the 1 3-hour race, but still 2 qualifying sessions, an average of the best lap time from the 2 drivers in the lineup. So both drivers contribute to their starting position.
They do, and I like that. I think it's a really fair way of doing things. And with this racetrack being so long, you can generate tire temperature probably by the second lap. I spoke to an engineer about that when you expect these tires to come in. So it really depends how much energy you try and build on this prep lap, let's call it. But you could literally be coming up the hill to start the first flying lap, and that could be the lap. I think probably lap 3 or 4 is when we'll see when the times will really be set, and then it's all about tire conservation. You're going to have to use these tires in the race today. How much work do you want to put on them versus the overall perspective of race day?
Let's talk about the circuit here, Calvin. I know this is one of your favorites.
Yeah, it just gives you everything you're looking for. I mean, it's high speed, it's big commitment, it's got some really unique corners like this one, the carousel that seems to go on forever and falls away there. As you can see, the off-camber finish to the corner, then that sets you up to tighten the seatbelts, get ready for this one. King has taken approach speed nearly 150 right there as you tip it in. And then you're just trying to thread that needle, hit your marks. You do see a lot of that grass creep. We're going to talk a lot about that here this weekend through now many of the corners. It was just there for the Kink initially, and they liked what they saw in terms of really calling it a safety net, giving the drivers a little bit more room if they do run out of road. But drivers will be drivers. They're starting to use all of that and a bit more. So you still see them kicking up dust and getting into the grass at the exit of some of these corners.
Including this one, turn 14, beyond the painted curb. That's where you find the grass creek, concrete mesh effectively with grass growing up in between. Drivers have told me you lose about 40% of the potential grip compared to a curb or to the racing surface when you get out there. The idea is that you can't derive any particular advantage driving out there, but it does give you a little extra surface if you're having a moment. Certainly in the Kink, we've seen that save a few cars and drivers over the last couple of years since it was installed.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's really, you're not putting load on that. So it's not really you're looking for grip, but it gives you extra room and a bigger radius. So consequently, it should be a little bit quicker.
Here is Matias Perez-Companc, winner the last time out in the Pro class at Road Atlanta. It was actually a Pro-Am car that won overall. Philip Ellis, who we talked about earlier, making his season debut in the championship alongside Jason Daskalos, helped deliver that stellar performance. But a huge day for this AF Corsa team. They've been strong all year, had a couple of podiums going into the most recent round, but definitely capitalized on some misfortune for others, plus showed great pace throughout the course of that weekend down in Georgia.
They really did, and we looked at that JMF squad, and they looked unbeatable, right? I mean, they've got such a strong driver pairing in Mackay Stevens and Mikael Grenier, one at Sonoma, one at Coda. Then suddenly at Sebring, they had that technical issue, and then they got beat for the first time. They felt that the engine had gone a little bit soft. There's actually not only a brand new engine in the 27 due to the issue they had here on Friday, but also the 34 has been equipped with a new motor since the last round of the championship. So they feel they'll be back on form, but certainly this weekend's been a little bit disrupted with some of the weather we had here yesterday.
Matias here, part of a racing family from Argentina. Father Luis Perez-Companc has done a lot of driving. Several other family members have raced at a high level as well. And here he comes, first year in this championship. Kicks up some dust there at the exit of turn 14. By the way, in qualifying as in practice, the start-finish line is between turns 13 and 14. The reason for that is you're able to set your lap time and then quickly come to the pit lane. It does a couple of things. It lets the team get a quick look right away at tire pressures, tire temperatures, things like that to get a better read on the handling of the car, but also it means that the sessions can be shortened slightly, not having to do a full in-lap. And anyway, we'll see those times start to come in before the traditional start-finish line, of course, on the front straightaway.
Yeah, I'm watching Companc there go through turn 1. I'd call that a little bit out of bounds. There's a white stripe at the edge of the road, as you can see here, but then there's some perpendicular stripes coming off some of the corners, and in turn 1, you're supposed to have your tire touching that. I thought he was a little bit outside of that, so race control may be looking at that, and you can only do so many of those during the race before they're going to call you on it, but in qualifying, they may tighten their belts a little bit on that in terms of what they'll allow.
Well, Matias is the early pace setter here as Sebastian Mascaro trips that timing beacon there in the run-up to turn 14 and jumps to P1, but we don't see times yet that are likely to be the quickest in the session. A 2:09.1 from Mascaro a moment ago is the quickest we've seen so far. But this weekend, the quickest time set by Tom Sargent for GMG Racing at a mid-2:04. So clearly they're still working these Pirelli P0s into the window, not yet going for broke.
Yeah, and I was thinking in these slightly cooler conditions, early morning, lower fuel, fresh rubber, can anyone threaten the threes even here in quali?
Been a long layoff for many of these drivers. Some race in other championships, but for those that don't, what does nearly 3 months on the couch do to your racing sharpness?
I think it depends on your experience level. I think for the pros, they can just get into their stride pretty quickly. I think for the AMs in some of these Pro-Am lineups, we see a Prez Compact there again, a little bit loose there coming through that final corner. So that may be a balance issue they can correct with the tools in the car, or certainly with some tire pressure changes for his teammate when he gets this car in the second session here. But yeah, for an AM, it's difficult. You know, it's hard to take a big break, and it's a long break, right? I think it's 11 weeks from toe to toe from when we had the checkered flag to the green flag here today. So yeah, it's tough, but I think if you've been through it before, you can kind of take it in your stride. But for others, it may take them through this weekend and get into bar before they really get back into top form.
Here is Mackay Stevens. He's one who has not raced since the most recent round at Road Atlanta. Right now, second quickest here in the session. Everyone chasing Matías Perez Companc, who just put in the new best first sector. So even though that car looks like it's on the ragged edge, Calvin, he's still finding a lot of speed in that machine.
He is. I'm not sure that's the ideal balance here to have a really quick lap. I think you need the car underneath you a little bit more, because if it's loose there, it's probably compromising his speed and entry on some of the other high-speed corners here as well.
Here is Mascaro. Welcome back. Haven't seen Seb since the Sebring round, where he actually qualified along with his co-driver Ricardo Agostini on the Pro-Am class pole. 2 starts this year, finishes of 6th and 5th. And it was always planned to be a partial schedule for Triarsi Competizione, to be determined which future races Seb comes to, but comes from a Ferrari Challenge background and has been super quick here in his first real running in the GT3 car. Wow, big moment there, big off for that AM class Ferrari. Newcomer to the championship here this weekend. I think that's Mitchell Green going for a ride.
It was going to share that car with John Morley, who's his regular coach in Ferrari Challenge. So they're making a big step here this weekend, but right now he's pretty quick. 12th overall, fastest car on the 2-car AM class.
Companc, 2:05.1, purple sectors 1 and 2 for the Argentinian. Quickly establishing himself here as a threat for pole position. How about Mackay Stevens? What can he do? Personal best in all 3 sectors, but still 6/10 off of the pace-setting Ferrari.
Yeah, I think there's a bit more to find there for Mackay, so maybe they're just taking a slightly different approach and trying to gradually building some temp and pressure into those tires.
Just saw Alex Sedgwick jump up to 3rd place. That's the Dollarhide Racing Ford Mustang. 5 pro-class cars, all in the top 5 positions. It's not always a given, especially in GT World Challenge America, where the regulations state that even in the pro class, you have to carry at least 1 silver-graded driver, and typically there is quite a bit of crossover between the pro and pro-am classes here.
Yeah, and even though it's a pro class, there's still a pro and an AM, or a 2-driver lineup. Guys who don't have so much experience, like Justin Rothberg, for example. So I think in the second session is when we're going to see the fastest time set, not only in the pro-am cars, but also in the pro cars potentially.
Great lap a moment ago by this man, Brayton Williams, series rookie. But he's gone to the top of the Pro-Am standings right now in his Mercedes. 6th overall, a 2:06.690. Pretty stout lap.
Really stout. He's been pretty impressive this year. TR3, great little team. Got Daniel and Morad there, who they have a ton of belief in. So they could make a statement here today. It looks like the car is hooked up. Mercedes, as always, seems to be fast wherever we go. It's one of those platforms that just seem to give the drivers the confidence and the sweet spot that they're looking for, whatever the racetrack is.
Brayton's still looking for a breakout result. Has had good pace. They've run at the front of races. Sebring comes to mind, where a late penalty really cost them a big result. Best finish was at Sebring, where they finished 6th. Wow, Williams super wide there, up and over the curbing and into that grass creek we've been talking about.
Yeah, that's using every inch of the road before you're in the dirt and going to lose time. So I'd say that's absolutely the limit in terms of the line, at least. This is fun here. We start to wind it up, flat out, breathe the throttle, just try and get that front end tucked, and then just from this point forward, full acceleration, use a little bit of that grass creek on the exit.
And then a deep breath, because it's the kink coming up next.
Yeah, wide open in these GT3 cars unless there's a real imbalance, but certainly later in the stint when the tires start to degrade a little bit, it'll be a little bit more challenging for sure. And then this corner, great brake zone, release the brakes. You really want to roll and flow some speed there through apex. You don't want to be stopping and starting these race cars. Just try and roll some minimum speed through some of these corners. Really gives you a big advantage, particularly this one, turn 14. Car's up on its tippy toes, as I call it, right through here, and you're just sort of like balancing it and flowing that speed, looking through the dust cloud, hoping there's not a car there on the other side.
Saw on the screen a moment ago, Michael Clark given a drive-through penalty for a pit lane speed violation. That's costly here because of the length of the lap. In 15 minutes, you don't get too many bites at the apple, and a drive-through penalty deprives you of a couple. Here's a newcomer to GT3 racing. We've seen him in Pirelli GT4 America before. Danny Deshelski, a young man with a lot of potential. First weekend in a GT3 car. He's deputizing for JP Martinez, who's still recovering from the big accident down at Road Atlanta. Wish you a swift recovery, JP, but RS1 drafting Danny in to join the veteran Jan Halen, and he has been finding his pace all throughout this weekend.
He has. He's fastest in the Pro-Am class now, 6th overall, so that's a fantastic debut run for him. Brand new race car, so there's been a lot of work. Remember that huge crash that we had kind of mid-race between Derek DeBoer and Martinez aboard this 28 car. He's had to step aside for this weekend. I'm hoping we'll see him back this year, because he's been a keen competitor and really a great character and personality to have in the paddock.
My chat with Jan Halen earlier this weekend, Jan said that JP's following doctor's advice, skipping this weekend, but the intention is to be back behind the wheel. He's brought a lot of personality to the championship this year. Big smile every time we see JP, so hate to not have him here this weekend.
Fastest first sector in the Pro-Am class by Nikolai Algany, and aboard this Lamborghini Huracan. This is a good lap he's putting together. He's currently 3rd in class, 8th overall, personal best through sector 2, but finishes there just at the exit of the queue.
This is another car we haven't seen in quite some time. In fact, it's been since the season opener at Sonoma. Huracan from the Chicago Performance and Tuning Company with Marco Polo Motorsports. Here they come. Nikolai Algany, currently 8th overall, 3rd in class, comes to the timing and scoring line now. And what does he do? Not enough to improve.
Just lost a little bit there in that final sector. So he had a great one going.
A little bit of traffic to contend with here for the likes of Jay Schreibman, championship leader in the AM class, who has Benny Simonson as his co-driver for the 2nd straight weekend. Oz Negri still recovering from an Achilles injury, non-racing injury. Wish you a quick recovery as well, Oz. But Benny was right on the pace at Road Atlanta, and Jay's giving this car a good run right now, 19th overall.
That's a really good run. There's 4/10 between the two drivers who have a lot of Ferrari Challenge experience behind them, Mitchell Green and Jay Schreibman, so that could be a good little battle. We'll have fun with the here this weekend.
Here comes Deshelski again, and look at that lap.
Wow.
4th overall, only 8/10 off of the Pro Class leader.
That's going to set up his team again, as you said earlier in the show, Ryan. It's a combined or an average of the two drivers, so this really sets up Jan Halen to go and do his thing, potentially give RS1 a great pole position. What a weekend they're putting together. Had to put a replacement car in the hands of Luca Mars and Spencer Pumpelly after a crash here on Thursday, and they go out and sweep the weekend. 7 wins, is it now on the bounce?
7 in a row for RS1 in GT4 America's silver competition.
Check us out.
And it was a remarkable drive for Luca Mars to get them the win in race number 1. So remarkable, in fact, that his co-driver Spencer Pumpelly had to break a vegan streak of like 16 years, and he had a stake because he lost the bet. He said, there's no way Luca's going to win this race for us.
Vegan mistake or streak or something. Have to work on that one and come up with something punny.
Here is Mitchell Green, mentioned him earlier, newcomer to the championship, lots of Ferrari Challenge experience. He's got a vintage F1 car as part of his collection that he's driven at the Monaco Historics in the past. First race, though, in GT World Challenge America. Pretty impressive debut. Yes, 3 seconds off the outright pace, but 16th overall. That's nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, and best and overall best in the AM class between the two cars through the first sector. I think everyone else has kind of bailed on this lap, whereas this lap counts all the way to turn 13, 14, but I think he lost a little bit being compromised there through the kink.
Yeah, caught some traffic there, didn't he? Stays 16th, but enough for provisional AM class pole. Really good stuff from Mitchell Green.
But again, you want that little bit more because that gives you a little bit more on the table for your teammate to work with, so they may be a bit frustrated by that. Because even with that slow middle sector, he still ran an 8.7, which was only 4/10 off his best time.
That's a good point. Just waiting on Dyszelski. Everybody else has either entered the pit lane or seen the checkered flag. Doesn't look like Danny's set to improve, and in fact does now see the checkered flag in 4th place, but provisionally the pole in Pro-Am. Quite a debut for some of our debutants here this weekend. Super impressive. Great return for the Chicago Performance and Tuning team as well. Nikolai Elganian's done his bit. Matt Siljahow getting installed, and Pirelli P0s for that second driver too. Well, one session is complete. That gives us a chance to hear from some drivers straight out of the car. Who have you caught up with, Amanda?
Well, overall in that session is the guy that won Road Atlanta. And Matthias just telling me that you raced alongside Miguel Molina at Spa last year, so you guys have some familiarity with each other. But you were discussing things after this run. What did you relate to Miguel?
Yeah, now the car felt great, just having some minor details. And let's hope he can maximize it now, and we got pole.
What can you tell us about the track this morning?
The track was okay, yeah. I think yesterday was better. Now it's a bit hotter, but it was still okay track.
Matthias was on pole for Road Atlanta. We'll see if he can go back-to-back.
We will indeed. He does have plenty of experience here. Raced an LMP2 car at Road America last year, so knows the circuit well, but has to learn it now in a GT machine. This is a look at the dominance, though, of that AF Corsa Ferrari. Fastest in all 3 sectors, according to Race Vision, powered by AWS. Impressive stuff from the youngster. So here's how it stands after the first 15 minutes. Second driver's about to climb aboard, and again, it's a average of the best time from each of the 2 drivers that ultimately sets the grid for the race later on today. But Perez compact by 0.6 of a second ahead of Mackay Stevens, then Cameron Lawrence in the Mustang. Dyszelski for RS1, quickest of the Pro-Am cars. Rothberg and McCann completing the top 5 and completing the Pro class. Brayton Williams, really solid effort from him. Mascaro, same story there for Triarci. Then Elganian, Todd Coleman, didn't see him in the session, but he's right there in the mix. Look how tight it is in this portion of the field. 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, really on back to about 12th or 13th, all bunched together there. Some with some work to do. See what Colin Brown can do to bring that Kelly Moss car up the field a little bit. Same for his teammate Luke Hartog and Riley Dickinson for that matter. Doesn't look like it was quite the session that team was looking for, but again, still 15 more minutes of qualifying to go.
You know, I think for Perez Compact and Dyszelski, they've really given their teammates a great opportunity here to just lay a solid lap in, and combined could be enough. They may not need to be the fastest driver by quite a chunk and still maintain that pole position on average, but I think there's going to be some real fights going on between maybe the 34, the 6, and the 29, for example, depending on what the likes of Foley and Cameron Lawrence and Mikkel Grenier can put together here in this session now.
Here come the cars back out onto the track. Mentioned earlier, it's the biggest grid we've had all season long, and fittingly, it comes at the longest track we'll go to all season, so you shouldn't trip all over one another, and yet it still happens, as we saw in practice 1.
Yep, it's amazing, isn't it? They're like magnets sometimes in terms of a qualifying run, and there we see Cameron Lawrence peeling it out of the pit box as Jan Halen elects to sit and wait a little bit.
And what's the strategy there? Is it just about getting some space to yourself?
I think so. I think so. Rather than just going out and fighting it, just allows you to prep the tires and not be compromised by what the person is doing in front of you. There's obviously the theory that the more rubber goes down, we did have it washed, the track washed a little bit yesterday, but you got to be careful, right? There's not guaranteed green flag time of 15 minutes. So if someone has an issue and you haven't put one down, so there's always a little bit of risk by waiting. But as we said, he's got a nice little chunk of time to work with, so he doesn't need the ultimate lap here to maintain that pole position.
Road America, as you saw up on that sign a moment ago, America's National Park of Speed, certainly earns that sobriquet. Since 1955, this has been a classic venue in North American racing, situated on 640 acres in the Kettle Moraine Scenic Drive region, a designated scenic route through southeastern Wisconsin. The landscape very much a factor in what makes this track so special. It carves its way through those kettles and moraines. And if you've ever wondered what a kettle is, it's a geographical term for a depression or hole in an outwash plain formed by retreating glaciers as a result of blocks of dead ice left behind, which has become surrounded by sediment. You knew that, right, Cal?
I thought it was what I boiled my water in for my cup of tea in the morning, but
a moraine, by the way, is a geographic term for accumulated unconsolidated glacial debris, but it's that has created this topography here in this region of Wisconsin and makes it such a perfect place for a natural terrain road course like this one. Let's go back down to the pits. Amanda has caught up with one of the impressive newcomers in the paddock this weekend.
It's a good way to make them say your name, right? Just talking with Danny, his first time ever in a GT3 machine here this weekend. How did you get up to speed so quickly?
You know, RS1's been really great this weekend. I've had Jan, who's been a great coach for me to learn this car, and it's given me all the opportunities to be able to have really great pace this weekend, and I'm just really thankful to be with this team.
They say chance favors the prepared mind. When you got this call, what was your reaction?
A lot of excitement. You know, getting the opportunity to drive a GT3 car has been a dream. That's what I've wanted to do pretty much my whole life. So to get this opportunity and be able to do great for the team is like a dream come true.
And second fastest overall in the middle section here today. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Something to be proud of, no doubt. Young man who calls the Charlotte area home these days.
That is amazing what he just did there. And that's an understatement. I mean, to jump in one of these cars for the first time on this racetrack and put it, what, 4th overall? Obviously fastest in the class, but that was a sensational lap that he put together there.
Comes out of Radical Racing, was the runner-up in the World Finals in the Pro 1500 class back in 2022. Also did some single-seater racing, making his way as far as USF Pro 2000, made a handful of starts at the tail end of the 2023 season before a full campaign in 2024 where he finished 7th, but dovetailed that program with 6 races in Pirelli GT4 America. Did the full season the following year alongside Alex Ellis, finished 6th in the points. That was last year, and this year it's been a partial program, hasn't really found a home yet in motorsports, but maybe this is the start of something big. And tell you what, that is an eye-popping performance from that young man who looked totally unfazed by it as well.
That's right. Tom Sargent here. He's been really quick here this weekend. And he starts this flying lap here. You could see him just trying to park it in Canada and just get a big launch there, knowing that start to the lap is on the approach to turn 14. So he's already thinking about starting the lap with the best possible acceleration run into turn 14. And then this man has been so impressive. It kind of adopted a slightly different strategy to some of the others. That third segment of the race, let's call it, is when this car absolutely flies. They elect to kind of low fuel Tom Sargent and put the fresh tires on then. And that's where he's been setting those incredible lap times throughout these events this year.
Which has helped him in this new initiative from the SRO, the GT Academy, which offers a fully funded 24 hours of spa seat to silver-rated drivers. There will be winners of that competition from each of the 4 global, well, I take that back, from 3 of the 4 global championships plus British GT for silver-graded drivers who are under 30 years old. And it's a combination of results, consistency, as well as outright pace or in the race. And my goodness, has Tom Sargent had pace in spades this year. He is the comprehensive leader in the North American GT Academy standings at this stage in the season. Here he is on board.
Let's watch this man go to work here. Heard comparisons of him and Lauren Heinrich this weekend, and to be named in the same sentence as that young driver is really saying something. People are really starting to stand up and take notice of Tom Sargent and his pace.
Looks like he's rolled out of it here, possibly because there's some traffic up the head. Certainly traffic behind with Mikael Grenier flashing those headlights, but Sargent's picking up the pace once again.
Did see a car peel into pit lane. You are allowed to change tires during these sessions here, so not sure if anyone's elected to maybe go out on the tires from the earlier session, come in and put some fresh rubber on.
And Grenier's bailed on this too. Here comes Thomas Merrill through. Grenier lets him come on by for picking up the pace once again in the 34 car, which Amanda mentioned off the top, I believe, had its own technical gremlins this weekend. Basically a gear selector issue cost them quite a bit of track time. They've been able to diagnose that, and as we saw in the opening session of qualifying, pretty good pace in this machine, although everyone's looking up at that of course, a Ferrari.
Yardley's just come through with a mid-5 lap, and combined that puts them to the top of the heap.
Really stout stuff from Ryan doing double duty across GT4 America and here in GT World Challenge. Celia Haug just did a great lap. On average now, Chicago Performance and Tuning with their Huracan sits atop the pile.
Yeah, that's impressive for that group, not doing all of the championship rounds. So to show up here, that Lamborghini's obviously got great pace. Laura Spinelli has been here helping out that team this weekend, get the bugs worked out and getting up to speed. He knows the Lamborghini very well. And let you spread the rumor. What's going on with him?
Reports are that he could be the third driver for them at the Indy 8 Hour at the end of the year.
Not sure if that was off the record or you just...
I read that in a media report, so I'm not saying anything that isn't out there in the ether already.
Robbie Foley here. Bounce back from that technical glitch that they had at Road Atlanta. Kind of hurt them in the points a little bit, but they're still sitting in P3 and within shouting distance of the lead, just 11 points back.
Times you're seeing, by the way, on the pylon on the left, those are the combined times, so that would be the grid if the session were to end right now. Several teams thankful that the session doesn't end right now because they need to put in some quick laps here, and Robbie Foley certainly just did that. His most recent lap, a 2:04.2, and that has the average for the Turner car down to a 2:06 flat. But let's watch as Miguel Molina comes across the line and immediately takes that Ferrari back to the top of the charts.
On average, 2:04.4, so a couple of tenths off Foley's time. I thought we might threaten the threes here in these conditions here this morning. And again, the car is not refueled, so it's at its lightest now that we've seen it so far this morning. Ooh, someone's dropped big time there. A lot of dust there on the exit of 14.
Mikael Grenier has the JMF Mercedes, 5th overall, but 3rd in class because Riccardo Agostini, that's the Ferrari that Seb Mascaro drove in the first leg, has taken the top spot in Pro-Am. 3rd overall, Brayton Williams set the table really nicely for Daniel Morad. They're up to 4th overall, 2nd in class, but still plenty of quick drivers out on quick laps. This is not done yet.
Fastest lap of the session right now is actually Tom Sargent at a 2:04.232, so that's about 500s quicker than Foley's best lap of the session.
Agostini gave up some time there in the middle sector.
Car's going to be feeling great right now. Our tires are right into their sweet spot. Fuel load has burned off a little bit. Track's rubbering in after the rain.
Oh, look at that opening sector from Robbie Foley. Personal best through the middle sector, but gave some time up there compared to Molina in the Ferrari.
Foley's got a fly going here. Purple, purple, 1st and 2nd sector. That BMW has always shown strength here at Road America.
Here he comes, timing line just up ahead, crosses it now, and Robbie Foley.
2:04.18, fastest lap of the session.
But still just about 0.3 of a second on average shy of Molina. And that goes to show the importance of both drivers across this format, right? Because what Matias Perez-Companc did in that opening sector, that's the difference.
Yeah, he had quite a handy margin over the rest of the pro class cars there, so it was going to be tough for anyone to threaten that. We just felt that Molina just needed to do a solid lap, and that may be enough. Seeing everyone venturing out there on the exit of turn 1, so obviously race control letting them use that in this qualifying session. Otherwise, it can be a bit of a nightmare to police. So I'd suggest they just say, go out there and use it if you want to, guys.
Inside of 4 minutes left to set the grid here for the first race since June. Most recent round, Road Atlanta. Oh, big slide there from Daniel Morad. Also kicks up some dust. He's off in pursuit of a little bit more time. Needs to find a 0.5 of a second, but that's again on average, so it's more like a 1/10. That would be able to drag him up and challenge Agostini and Mascaro for the Pro-Am class pole.
Yeah, he's 0.4 off Agostini in this session. Daniel's best lap's a 2:04.7 compared to a 2:04.3 for the 18 machine in this session alone. See if he can tidy this lap up a little bit. Looked a little bit ragged there through turn 14 when we were focused on him.
What about in the AM class? Benny Simonson is on the pace right now. This would be a change from what we saw in the first leg of qualifying. AF Corsa with their number 163 now ahead of the John Morley-driven 67 that Mitchell Green was driving in the first leg.
Yeah, and I think that's why Mitchell wanted to have a little bit more margin there between the two cars. Morley's done a nice job. He doesn't have a lot of GT3 experience other than a bit of coaching and testing, but Benny's fast lap's a 2:05.3. John Morley's done a 2:05.9. See if John can dig deep and find a bit of pace in the other Ferrari, two-car Ferrari battle in the AM class here this weekend.
Not seeing much to indicate a big change on the timing screens at the moment. The car I'm curious about is the 28 from RS1. Remember, Jan Halen sat and waited a little longer than the bulk of the field, so he's slightly in a different schedule in terms of bringing the tires up to temperature. Right now, he's been able to do no better than drag that car to 3rd in class, 6th overall. Here he comes. Time for possibly one lap after this, remembering that the timing line starts back in turn 13, or between 13 and 14.
Haven't seen much of Philip Ellis. Obviously, they lost quite a bit of track time here this weekend, waiting for that fresh engine to arrive. So they're sitting, what, P11 overall?
Correct.
P5 in class, P6.
Yeah, surprisingly quiet, but you're right. The fact that they had to sit out all day yesterday probably helped them somewhat, that the rain came in the middle of one of the practice sessions, so that really wasn't a great amount of learning done by most of the field, but even still, they're definitely on the back foot.
They helped them with their tire allocation. They want to burn through any tires in that session, so that's maybe the one positive from missing a session. Very rarely say quiet and Philip Ellis in the same breath.
Hardly ever. And Halen's out of it here. Andy Lee is not. That is the pink BMW coming through. Halen quickly out of the way as well to let Ryan Yardley come on by. Here's Sargent. This has been kind of quiet by his standards as well, I have to say.
Yeah, and they're not going to get back to the line to start another fly. There's only 30 seconds left on the board, so we see Halen off the pace and Sargent off the pace. So I think they're used up all their powder right now.
Now on the screen, you're looking at the best time set in this portion of qualifying, this second leg. And Foley has the quickest by 0.5 of a 10th over Sargent. I say Sargent's been quiet. That's not quite correct. It's just that the average has them buried down in the 10th place overall. But clearly, keep an eye on this car once we get to the second half of the race this afternoon. It'll come to life with Tom behind the wheel.
Sargent there just making sure he's getting some pickup on these tires. Going to give the tire man a little bit of work to do to scrape them clean. But importantly, the car will go through tech as they finish this session. So you're just trying to make sure your ride height is built up high enough and you got a little bit extra weight on if you're close to the margins there. But what a lap by Foley. They did test here, so that certainly gives you a jump, but conditions always change from when you test a month prior, and gives a little wave there, just waiting to see if that's confirmed. Check it is out. Don't see anything quick on the board.
It'll be an outside of the front row start then for Turner Motorsport. Robbie Foley, Justin Rothberg combining for the second best average, but no one could supplant AF Corsa with the returning Miguel Molina, returning to this championship, but debuting at Road America. Again, amazing. He's never raced here in his career. I find that hard to believe, but evidently that's the case. And his young teammate, Matías Perez-Companc, who was quickest of all in the first qualifying segment.
Yeah, and that's where that margin was built, because Perez-Companc was 9/10 faster than Rothberg. Rothberg did a nice lap there.
Yes.
6 flat is a really good lap for Justin, but too much of a margin there for Foley, despite that brilliant lap, to erase it all.
Where did the Huracan end up? Mads Siljehaug completed the run. Nikolai Elganian started it. They are 13th overall. We talk about how difficult it is to come in if you've been sitting on the couch for the last nearly 3 months. They haven't raced since April. So that's a pretty good showing, I must say, for that team that's not run a GT3 car much in their history.
Yeah, really strong. He's about a second quicker than his teammate, but just with the other pros jumping on board, it changes the game a little bit on combined.
Here are the results. This is the combined averages here that will set the grid for the race today. AF Corsa Ferrari on pole position, as they were at Road Atlanta, where they went for the win in class. Turner Motorsport will start alongside. Then the second row, it's the top 2 in Pro-Am, with Triarci Competizione ahead of TR3 Racing. JMF Motorsports, the championship leaders in Pro, Stevens and Grenier. They'll have some work to do from 5th on the grid. Shelsky and Halen, they will start in 6th. Then McCann Racing's tandem, 4th out of the 5 Pro Class cars. The Dollarhide Racing Mustang, about a second on combined time off of the pole position. Sargent and Washington, they're primed for a good day today. Daskalos and Ellis coming back from the engine change and the missed track time. They're in the hunt. Then you get to the Wright Motorsports Group, Chicago Performance and Tuning, on down the list. And the AM Class pole, Benny Simonson went out and got it, but it was close. Talking about less than a 1/10 of a second on combined time in the AM Class. That should be fun to watch over the course of the 3 hours of racing coming up later on here this afternoon. There is Miguel Molina, overall winner of the 24 Hours of Le Mans in the Ferrari Hypercar. Still, though, active in GT racing, and has put this car on pole position with his teammate Matías Perez-Companc. He'll be enjoying this for sure. The fact that he returns to this championship for the first time in quite some time, and I think we have a chance to hear from our pole sitter now.
Yeah, and he's been pretty jazzed up getting out of the Ferrari down here to celebrate this pole position that'll put this team back on pole as they were in Road Atlanta, and Miguel fulfilling the spot. He's coming. But we just talked just briefly with your helmet on, just no experience here at all. What did you, what familiarity did you draw from to get this result?
Well, yeah, first time that I'm here, so I've been in a few racetracks in America, but this one was not the one that I've been. So I'm really impressed how it is, the track. Maybe it's one of my favorites now, but yeah, really good. I'm really happy to be here again after 2017 or 18, I think. Really happy to help Matías as much as possible for his championship, and we start well, so really happy.
Race is coming up next, guys.